Welcome back to Everything Money. We're so glad that you joined us. As always, we welcome our patrons from all over the world. Paul, we had less than 1,000 subscribers last September. Now we're closing in on 50,000. We're giving away a Tesla. What an insane ride we've been on. Today we're talking about Boeing. Boeing is an incredible company, Paul, a staple of America. They make a lot of stuff. Again, folks, if you just tuned into us, welcome. This is the show. A normal, somewhat unintelligent person when it comes to investing, myself, asked two rich guys, Paul, the man to my left, and Mo on the trading charts over there, two guys who maintain quite large portfolios, their thoughts on companies like Boeing. We don't do this for a living. So if you're watching other YouTubers where they're sitting in their spare bedroom and they might very well be feeding their family with money off of YouTube, we do not. Paul owns multiple businesses, upwards of 10, 12 businesses. The running joke is Paul never knows how many businesses are upstairs because it changes your ownership in businesses.
Yeah, we're consolidating businesses. We sell. We want to focus on 8 businesses upstairs. That's our goal is to get to 8 businesses that we just focus on. Right now, I think it's like 9 or 10 that we have to either sell off or consolidate.
And Mo's been trading a quite large portfolio for many, many years now. I'm a wedding photographer by trade, have been for the past 11 years. And I own this company, Paul, of course, DGF Spray. This is a graphite spray. I bring this up because our biggest client is Boeing. So our graphite spray lubricates all the airplane engines, and they buy a ton. I mean, cases and cases and cases per year. But regardless, Boeing got hit bad last year. Obviously, all the airlines got hit very bad, and it's on the rise now, Mo. People are flying. The number of people going through airports is picking up.
Record.
We'd like to look at Boeing through our 8-pillar analysis. So a very high-end look at this company and this stock. Where is the ticker lay in terms of its value? Is it overpriced, underpriced? With not a lot of earnings last year, Paul, this is going to be an interesting one. And this stock hit massively high prices back in it, even just 2 years ago, $420, $430.
And if you had told somebody
of course
that the company's going to fall 75 or 80%, because I think the low was $80.
89.
89.
On the nose.
People thought you're crazy. And, but COVID happened. I know COVID happened. That's the point of investing and value investing in particular is you sit there and even when the worst of the worst happens, you pick good, solid companies that can stick around and do well over long periods of time. Now, what we're going to do for Boeing here, it's going to be ugly. The numbers are going to be bad. Ignore the numbers for the most part. But still, I want you to go through the process so we can talk about each of these numbers and you can see how fundamentally bad the company got in the last year and what you can expect for the future, okay?
Boeing is a company out of Chicago, Illinois. They were founded in 1916. They're
out of Chicago?
Airplanes, rotorcraft, rockets, satellites, telecommunications, missiles.
I thought they were Seattle.
They're incredible. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was founded in Seattle, but their current headquarters is in Chicago.
Oh.
Let's look at it, Paul.
Okay, guys. So this is a $145 billion market cap, which means if you wanted to buy every outstanding share, this is what you're paying for the company. PE, it's a negative. It's an X because they had losses. So their profit margin's also an X with losses. They suspended any dividend they may have had because they needed money. So already 2 X's, but let's keep going.
Pillar number 3 is revenue growth over the past 5 years.
93 billion down to 56 billion. That's an X. And the 93 was going up, 95, 100, etc. So it was on its trajectory. If you look back here in 2012, it was consistently going up over time. Net income, guys. Net income.
Profit growth. Pillar number 4.
5.4 billion down to a $12 billion loss.
Well, obviously that's bad.
That's also bad. Number of shares outstanding. I will say this. They issued shares in the last year, but before then, they were buying shares back. Let's go a little bit over here. So it's a check mark here, and I understand why they issued shares, okay? They were issuing shares to add cash without adding on debt, so it makes sense. So I'm not as worried about the increase in the last year of shares.
How about current assets over current liabilities, which is pillar number 6, Paul?
$120 billion in essentially cash, and they owe $90 billion essentially in bills tomorrow. So there's plenty of cash on hand to pay their bills currently. Now, free cash flow, Uncle Seth. Now, guys, what is free cash flow?
This is pillar number 7, Paul. You love this one. We're going to take this free cash flow, find its average, and then sort of use this to determine what market cap we want to pay for the company. But free cash flow is, tell us.
Cash from operations, less capital expenditures. This is the money they're going to use to buy back shares, pay down debt, make acquisitions, pay out in dividends, okay? So this is a very important number, probably more so than earnings because cash flow is harder to manipulate. In earnings, you have SEC rules, you have accounting, you have IRS rules, you have all these rules that can manipulate how earnings look. Over longer periods of time, free cash flow and earnings should be about similar though, but I like to just go to the free cash flow. Now, in our trusty software that's only 80 cents a day, we added this free cash flow line just to make it easy for you, as well as the 5-year average. But guys, they had $9 billion in free cash flow down to $19 billion loss in free cash flow. That's an X.
Yeah.
The average in the last 5 years is $2 billion free cash flow, 1.75. But remember, you have these 2 years right here with a negative $30 billion over 2 years. So I'm pretty much going to strike these years out. Here's why. Our goal for Boeing is to figure out what should this company be worth when it's stable. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I want to look at is, are they issuing a lot of debt? Did they issue a lot of debt in the last year? Look at this. So before COVID hit, they had $142 billion in debt. Now they have $168 billion in debt. The good news is, guys, they started paying down their debt every quarter. It got lower and lower and lower. That's great. So they issued debt to keep their cash on hand, to keep the business running, and now they're paying it down. All right? So that's a positive of the company. You've got to now understand, where is this company going to go for the future? It still has $20 billion more of debt, $25 billion than it did before COVID, but you still want to keep this in mind. Now, going back to free cash flow. For everybody out there who says, oh, he's just about the numbers. Well, I'm just striking out the last 2 years of garbage free cash flow. Striking it out completely. You know what? I'm comfortable using their last year of free cash flow. Let's call it $13 billion in free cash flow. Now, so now the next question is, what multiple would you pay for this company? Seth, what would you pay for a company like Boeing, and why? And then, by the way, there's no right or wrong answer. There's just assumptions you're going to make, and the question is, are they reasonable or unreasonable?
So this is our pillar number 8, which is price to free cash flow. We usually find our market cap multiplied by something like 20.
Why do we do 20?
That's interesting, Paul.
Well, we picked 20 as a starting point because over long periods of time, PE and price to free cash flow, just like earnings, should be equal to cash flow. So I start with 20. Plus, if free cash flow is increasing, you should pay a higher multiple of the average over 5 years because you're skewed from the first 2 years. Now, we're talking about 1 or 2 years here, and it's a large company. So when would you pay a higher premium?
Well,
when would you pay a higher multiple?
It's harder for larger companies to grow. We've talked about this with Tesla. People are projecting Tesla to be the biggest thing ever, and they still want this huge growth multiple. We just looked at NIO, which has tons of room to grow because they only make 6,000 cars a quarter or a month. I'm sorry. So, if we start at 20, I'm liking 20 for this company. Maybe a little less, Paul, like a 15 or something.
So to go back to Seth's point, these are two companies, Company A, Company B. This is their free cash flow for the next 4 years. Which one are you pulling to pay a higher price for today?
Obviously, the bottom one.
Of course, the bottom one, because it's growing, right? The top one is stagnant. Remember, an investment is the present value of all future cash flow. If the cash flow is increasing, you're willing to pay a higher amount than if the cash flow is the same or decreasing. Now, I disagree with Seth. I don't believe 20 is a reasonable number for Boeing.
Too high?
I think it's too high because, one, they still have issues. They still have to get back to normal. And two, it's a huge company. Massive company. I don't see any growth. My return's going to come from dividends, paying down debt, and buying back shares, right? So I'm looking at saying, I probably want sub 15. So let's call it 15 times free cash flow. If we were going to take an average of 13 and multiply by 13 billion in free cash flow, multiplied by 15, that is $195 billion. Call it roughly 200 billion. What's the current market cap? $145 billion?
Yeah, 145.
Okay, so I'm looking at going, is this a reasonable price? It's a reasonable price if I felt that that they're going to get back to normal pretty much today.
Today or this year? Or?
This year, that's what I mean, like this year.
Okay.
If you think they're back to normal this year, and I don't know, I haven't looked, remember guys, when we did this analysis, we look at things from a very 500-foot, 1,000-foot view before we go deeper. We do no research on what are they projecting, etc. But after this, I look at it going, okay, well, it's selling for 145, and I'm willing to pay 200 if they were stable. Okay, maybe it's not bad. Maybe it's not terrible. Maybe I should be looking at this further to see where they are in their turnaround process. So I'm actually surprised at what I'm saying about Boeing here. They're paying down debt every quarter. We're clearly out of the mess. I mean, the mess was people weren't ordering planes because their comment was probably, why should we order planes? We still have to fill the ones we currently have, right? And there were a lot of orders delayed. So there'll be a lot of pent-up demand that'll probably hit in the next few years.
Yeah. I'm surprised by this too.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised. So what I would do as an investor is I might be selling puts on this.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm going to do with selling a put is I'm going to sell somebody the right to force me to buy the shares at a price much lower than today. It allows me to generate income while buying at a price in the future that I feel comfortable with.
What Paul's talking about is a long-term buy, more of a long-term play. If you're looking to trade this, whether on a daily, 15-minute, or weekly trade mode, what are people doing in that Bid and Ask Nation, that middle Patreon tier, when they're trading Boeing?
So we're going to look at the long-term chart here, and this is zoomed out about a little under 2 years. So here's your high, here's your low. So this is what we call a 50% rule stock, because you have all of this area over top, which is called overhang. And this is just downward negative pressure on the stock. And you can see over time, even down here when COVID happened, it tried to rebound and everybody took their profits and it sold off. Again, it tried to rebound up and people took their profits and sold off. So it has this resistance point where it gets to a certain point and people remember that it can't break through that price level. It happens to be about $250 a share. So people will take their profits from there. And that's what gives it this difficulty for it to move on going forward. So let's zoom in a little bit, because we are getting something today that maybe it can get through the this resistance level that it's stuck at. So we are coming up through the sweet spot actually very nicely. This is actually on the Bid and Ask Nation watch list currently. And the reason was because we were waiting for it to go sideways and do the pop that it's doing through the sweet spot. So right now, it comes down to, can we get enough volume to get good engulfing candlesticks for consistent days in a row? Can we get green engulfing candlesticks like this for multiple days? That's the question that lays there with that 50% rule. There's so much pressure at $250 where people are just going to sell and take their profits. Can there be something maybe news related that can drive volume into the stock and really push it forward? That's what this is going to come down to. But this is a great thing to keep an eye on. If we do get engulfing candlesticks with volume, we will be buying this thing for sure.
Me too, baby. All right, Paul, what's your final take on Boeing?
I'm looking at Boeing and selling 150 puts for January 2022, collecting $2.20.
But this is going to cost you 25 grand, Paul.
That's the thing. You have to buy 100 shares at a time, which is $15,000. It's a lot. But for me personally, this is something I'd look at. What's my ROI? Well, how many days between now and then? 235 days. So I'm going to make $2.20 on 150 bucks. What is that? 1.5% over 250 days. So I'm roughly going to make 2.3% per year. Now, I might look at it and say, well, guess what? I'm also putting it at $150. I would gladly buy Boeing at $150 between now and January. So I'll collect 2.3% of my cash in that time period. I don't know any other source that can pay me 2.3% over the next annualized return over the next 7 months.
And most importantly, having to buy Boeing at $150, which would be great for us.
Which would be a great price to buy. So I look at it as like, what's my risk-adjusted return? Like, I look at it saying, well, I either buy a company that I believe is worth well over 150 for 150, or it doesn't happen and I collect 2.3% annualized return on my cash.
Yep.
So these are the things you have to do and the things you can do learning from us on these channels. I look at Boeing and remember, you're going to make the most money when things are the most negative outlook, right? I think Boeing is coming out of the negative outlook, so there's probably less money to be made on it. But maybe you start a position and dollar cost average with puts at higher prices, et cetera, or you just start a position and dollar cost average on the way down. Or you buy an ETF like Jets, which has Boeing in it and allows you to buy the airline industry and the airline business in general, the airplane business in general, and wait for the recovery to happen.
That is our take on Boeing, an exciting company. Exciting also for my company, Paul, this DGF. Maybe they'll buy more of my spray, and that'd be good for me too. Yeah, that's our take. Fondle the thumbs up on the way out. You know, I love that fondle. And check the Patreon in the link in the description below if you want to get on the team. Patrons, you know I love you. Talk to you guys soon.